Hi guys, it's Andy from NismoTech. Today we're going to be checking out the Core V1 from Thermaltake. We're going to start just by having a quick look around the box, and I'm going to crack open the box and also get the actual case out. So you can see we've got Thermaltake Core V1, a sort of split out image of the actual case itself. It does come with a hell of a lot of features. So on the side here we have got the specifications. So it is a mini case, so the dimensions, we're looking at 276 by 200 and 60 by 316 millimeters in size. We have got two 3.5 inch and two 2.5 inch dry bays inside. A couple of expansion slots because it can only handle a Mini ITX motherboard. We're looking at two USB 3 and also your usual HD audio. Comes with a 200mm fan on the front of the actual case. You can swap this out for a 120 or a 140 if you wish, but that fan's running at 800 RPM at 13 dBA, and you've got room for two 18mm fans on the back. In terms of radiator support, you can actually fit 120s or a 140 in at the front. Now, so we've got a little bit of information here about the clearance. We have got the cooler height up to 140mm, VGA length 255 inner or 285 outer, so it's going to protrude a little bit, which we'll show you a little bit later, and PSU length is 200mm, so a generous amount of space inside such a small case. Cracking the box open, you can see that everything comes extremely well packaged, as you would come to expect. Okay, so we've now got the Core V1 out of the box. We're going to take a quick look around the outside before we go inside the case. As you can see, we've got the Thermaltake logo on the front, and we've got this honeycomb panel on the front, which allows quite a lot of airflow through to that 200mm fan that's in behind there. Obviously, it's going to blow through the rest of the actual case itself. The front has got a bit of a curve to the sort of top and bottom, which is quite nice to see, because I say essentially it's a bit of a sort of cube type design, so it's nice to have a bit of a different angle on the front, and it does look rather nice indeed. We've got a really large power button. We've got a hard drive and power LEDs on there. We've got two USB 3. You've got your audio, and you've also got your reset. And then in addition to that, as you can see, we have got this honeycomb side panel here as well, which is obviously going to allow for a lot of air to go flowing through the actual case. We're going to touch on side panels in a moment because you can actually interchange the actual side panels. Moving on to this side of the case, again, obviously you got that side panel there, and we'll look at the top one in a moment. On the back, we have got room for two 18mm fans on the back. 18mm fans do tend to be a little bit noisy, so I would have thought the majority of people would just leave that just for air to flow through. You've also got two PCIe expansion, you've got your IO shield, and you've got your bottom mounted power supply there. So just flipping this over, and you can see that we've got a Perspex window on the top here. Now these panels you can actually switch around. You can put that Perspex window on whatever side you actually wish. You can even take the bottom panel off the actual case, so you change the orientation. But the only problem with that is that the Thermaltake logo doesn't, you're not actually able to take that off and sort of flip it around, which it would have been sort of quite nice to see whether you could sort of pin it into place rather than having a bit of a groove that it actually sits in. Would have been, you know, just a little bit extra that I think would have been pretty good on this particular case. Taking a look at the bottom panel, obviously, as you can see, we've got these plastic feet on the bottom, and we have also got this small removable fan filter. So just go and lift that out there, and we can take a closer look. As you can see, it's pretty well made, so that's obviously going to offer protection for dust getting into the power supply, depending on what way you orientate it. Okay, so we're now going to go and just very quickly remove all of the actual panels off the case. As you can see, as already mentioned, we have got this sort of honeycomb grilled area. One thing to note as well is that the panels do actually have these sort of like little handles on them, which is really good to see, and they seem to be made from really high quality material. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the side panels off the case itself, and one thing I do want to start with is how well constructed the actual framework of the actual case is. Even moving it around with no side panels on, it's very strong, very nice materials that are used, and the actual build quality on it is really good indeed. Moving on to the inside, obviously we've got the risers here to put your your Mini ITX motherboard onto the top platform here. We've got a nice cutout, so if you do need to go and change your air cooler, if you are going down that route, it's going to be pretty easy and you don't have to necessarily take the motherboard out. We've also got a nice large area here for cables to come through to connect onto the motherboard and your graphics card, power, etc. Also room for radiator support in the front, which we'll come onto when we take that panel off. The other thing that you're going to notice is that we have got the dual chamber concept going on here. So minimal stuff going in at the top of just your motherboard, CPU, cooler, etc. But your power supply and all your cables can obviously be fed down at the bottom here, out of the way, so that they're not sort of interfering too much. So sticking that side panel on here, obviously you're going to get your graphics card in the way, but if you've got a nice attractive looking graphics card, you may want to do that. But see, it's going to potentially restrict the airflow. Moving around onto this side, and you'll see that we have got a couple of caddies here for your hard drives. So obviously these can handle 2 3.5 inch or 2 2.5 inch, and they are actually screwed in and actually removable as well. So again, if you do want to sort of reduce the amount of stuff going into your case, you can obviously take them out. It just probably makes it a little bit easier to actually mount your drives, I'd imagine, as well. And obviously you can see, hopefully looking through the back, the actual fan there. So let's go and pull the front panel off. There we go. Very, very simple to actually remove, a lot easier than I actually thought. What I was saying about the actual Thermaltake logo here, obviously hopefully you'll be able to see it's actually indented into the actual front panel. So it would have been nice if that was flat and you can actually pick the badge off and turn it around, because obviously if you were to change the orientation of the case, that would have been quite a nice touch. But we have got a little bit of foam on the inside here as well, so obviously to aid with dust being pulled in by that monster 200mm fan. As you can see there, spinning at 800 RPM. Also we've got the front I/O connections going in from the front here. We've actually got a cutout here, so obviously when I was talking about on the box about having room for that, I think it's 285mm graphics card, essentially your card potentially will be sort of sticking out here. So if you have got one of those longer cards, you may want to just have a quick little look just to make sure it will fit, and obviously think about the power cables going in to the end of the card as well. So moving on to the front, I'm just going to bring you in a bit closer, so hopefully we can have a bit of a better look. Now hopefully you can see we've actually got some spacings down here for screws to go in. You have got room here for 120 or 140mm radiator, so this case is absolutely perfect for an all-in-one situation, and it essentially will be running in push-pull because you've got that 200mm fan on the outside. Obviously you can replace it if you do want to change it for 120 or 140mm LED fan, for example. That would look pretty cool in this particular build, but essentially you've got plenty of room in there for a push-pull configuration. Obviously with the radiator coming out to about here, and then room for another fan. As long as you're careful with your cable management, you shouldn't have too many problems with that at all. Okay, so as you can see, I've now done a build inside the Core V1, so let's now go and have a look and see what we managed to cram into this case. Okay, so let's now start with the left-hand side of the case. One thing that I will point out is that I've got no operating system installed. I've literally just installed the components into this, hence why you've got quite a lot of fan noise going on in the background. But one thing that I have to say is that building into this case was such a dream to do. The further I got into the build, the more enjoyable it actually became, and there's a variety of different reasons for that, and one of the main reasons is the amount of room that you have, the cable management options, and also the fact that you can actually remove the bottom panel, and that makes it so much easier to actually route cables, to think about where you want to go and obviously install your hardware. Now this graphics card is actually quite long. I'm not quite sure as to actually how long it actually is, but it does actually come over on this side. So I'm just going to go and remove the actual front panel, if I can get to it easily. There we go, and you can see the 200mm fan going around on the front there. I've actually got the graphics card power cables running through from the actual front, and this was sort of one of the things that I really quite liked about the actual case. There's actually a hole down there. I don't know if you're going to be able to actually see that. Let me just try and zoom in on that a moment. So as you can see, we have actually got a hole down here, which does make it a lot easier to actually route your power cables up towards the top. So essentially, with the cables sort of running outside the front of the actual case, it means that it's not going to sort of be on show on the inside of the actual case, if that kind of makes sense. Now, what I was saying with regards to the graphics card being too long, as you can see, it actually protrudes a little bit on the outside here. So you've got maximum length of 285 millimeters. I think this is something like a 275. I'm not quite sure actually. Let's just see if we can give it a rough measure. Yeah, 270. So I've got another 15 mil, another 15 mil to actually play with there, which would obviously bring the power cables out right slap bang outside, which probably will make it a little bit easier actually to actually install. But you can see down at the bottom, obviously we've got a power supply in there. All the cables are sort of hidden down on the underside in the bottom chamber. And I just think it looks really, really good. Obviously, I'm not the best at cable management, but with this case, I actually felt like I did quite a good job. So moving on to this side, and you can see the other bits and pieces that we've actually got installed. So there you go, that's that side. As you can see, we've got a hard drive and a SSD. It probably does look a little bit of a mess in there, but essentially all the cables I managed to fit down inside behind the actual hard drive caddy area, which again was really, really good. The 4-pin to the for the motherboard power managed to route underneath all of this and bring it up along the side at the back there. And yeah, everything just seemed to really want to fit into place and install very, very easily. So yeah, as I was saying, the cable management side of the actual case for me is probably the best part about the actual case. It's really easy to actually route your cables as long as you haven't got too much going on inside. I certainly wouldn't want to go and mount 4 drives onto this particular system, so I think it would potentially be too much cabling going on, and I would definitely 100% recommend a semi-modular, or if not a fully modular PSU as well going into this, because you don't want to be storing too many cables down in the bottom chamber, because obviously you're going to restrict the airflow from that front 200mm fan. Also, another thing to point out, obviously I am using a all-in-one in this particular case. You have got a maximum height of 140mm for your CPU cooler height limitation. So 140mm in terms of an air cooler. Fitting a all-in-one into this system is a dream and a doddle. You've got the benefit of it kind of working in push-pull. Not that it's going to make a huge difference in terms of the temperature on the actual CPU, but it certainly, you know, will help to move air through the actual case. And even with the all-in-one installed, you have got a lot of room between the fan and where the motherboard sits, which is a really good thing, and it's again allowing for multiple cables to be used and obviously to improve the airflow across the case. Another thing that I really liked about the case are the hard drive cages themselves. They don't just sort of slot it into place, you can kind of angle them and then push them shut in order to then screw them down, and it does make it a lot easier to actually install the actual hard drive cages themselves, especially when you have a lot of cables in behind there trying to hide them out the way. So it's an absolute pleasure doing a review and also to build into the Core V1. I think if you were to pick the right components, look at a bit of LED lighting for example, this really can be a fantastic little gaming case. It has a huge amount of flexibility, especially with the bottom panel being able to be removed as well. It just makes installation into this case so much easier. So if you are a beginner, this case is extremely easy to use. If you're an experienced builder, the value on this case is absolutely fantastic at the price that it's coming in at. You've got so much room inside the case. The layout is fantastic. The overall design is brilliant. The quality of the materials being used is again top class. For me, I would definitely recommend it. I would even go as far as saying it's one of the best Mini ITX cases on the market at the moment. So we hope you like the unboxing, review and build into the Thermaltake Core V1. Don't forget to check out the link down below in the YouTube description. That will take you to the website to find out what ratings we actually gave the system, a little bit more information, as well as links to where you can actually go and purchase this particular case. And I would thoroughly recommend actually just clicking that link just to find out how much it currently is at the moment, because when I was reviewing this case and doing the build, the price of it is extremely attractive. So we look forward to seeing you in our next video. Thanks for watching our video, and we do hope you enjoyed it. Please do leave a comment down below and hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, and also visit our website NismoTech.com, where you'll find all the products we've done videos for, as well as our current giveaways and the latest tech news and press releases. We hope to see you again soon.